Hello and welcome to this video about how to get help from our past lives. In my experience, there are three main ways our past can assist us in our present. First is from the skills and talents we've developed in the past. Second is by overcoming a condition from a past life. And third is by inspiration from some divine intervention we've experienced in the past. I'll share some examples of all three from my own past lives that have helped me. We've all developed some pretty incredible tools in our past lives to deal with the challenges we've had to face back then and may be facing again in this life. These are skill sets or talents, such as mathematics for instance. If we developed math skills to a high degree in a past life, we'd likely do very well in math in this life. This was true for me. Since coming into Eckankar, I learned I'd been a sea captain a few lifetimes ago. Sea officers of that time needed extraordinary skills in the complex mathematics of tides and reckoning by the stars. This explained my love of math in this lifetime. Soul travel is one of the wonderful skills we can learn as students of Eckankar. This video is not sponsored by Eckankar, but you can get more information at the links below. Soul travel is travel outside the body to other worlds. In one of these worlds, I was confronted by a man who wanted to fight me, just to prove that he was better. He was very proud of his high degree of martial arts training, and needed to prove it. Apparently, he'd heard I was some sort of fighting legend. This took me by surprise, because in this life, I had little motivation to learn fighting skills. However, he had me so cornered that I was forced to accept his challenge. A duel was arranged a few days hence. I didn't know what I was going to do, because I knew he'd really cleaned my clock. However, I remembered a past life I'd seen where I'd been a commando in the Russian army. I'd learned a lethal form of martial arts in the Far East. It was no sport, but an efficient way to kill. I'd become so proficient that I taught it in the army. Review of these skills gave me some preparation at the appointed time. The fight was over before we both knew it. I knocked him cold with one blow. Upset at such humiliation, he demanded a rematch. Although I showed up again, he was nowhere to be found. He'd had a change of heart. And that was that. Although this didn't happen on the physical plane, it showed me that I had all manner of tools at my disposal from my past, should I need them in this life. A second way we can get help from past lives is finding the cause of present conditions that bother us. An example of this from my own life was a fear of public speaking. Not long after I came into Eckankar, I found myself in a past life in what I believe is today Myanmar or Burma. Centuries ago, through my very outspoken ways, I'd led a peasant rebellion against a tyrant king. It had failed, and my head was demanded. Hiding in swamps and rice paddies, I only barely managed to avoid the posses that combed the land. I escaped into Tibet, nearly dead from wounds and exhaustion. A friendly village of people nursed me back to health. The source of my fear of speaking up was people trying to kill me. Since it was no longer an issue, it went away. The third way we can get help from a review of past lives is witnessing a remarkable event of divine intervention. The Bible is full of such inspiring tales, such as the parting of the Red Sea that allowed the Israelites to escape the Egyptian army, Gideon and his band of 300 men defeating the entire Midianite army, or Daniel thrown into a den of lions who refused to eat him. These powerful stories have been a source of inspiration and encouragement for people throughout the ages who were undergoing their own severe tests of faith. Even more powerful, perhaps, is when we find such a story in our own personal experience. In my last life, as a young Jewish man, I'd fled Nazi Germany into Soviet Russia, which was my only escape route. Even though I served with distinction in the Soviet Air Forces, my German past was discovered by the authorities and I was arrested as a spy. My trial went badly, and it looked for sure that I was to face a firing squad. On the last day, however, the courtroom was packed with nearly 100 Air Force men in uniform. One after another, their testimonies demolished any evidence that I was a traitor, and I was acquitted. This remarkable event of divine intervention in a communist dictatorship serves to encourage me whenever I feel beset by a tide of negativity. There are always those vehicles of the Ek, or the Holy Spirit, who will come in our hour of need. Life is like a video game. You have a number of lives, or chances to win. You can reach higher levels of play. You can gather tools, gain credits, and gain strength to win the game. In Ekankar, we do all of these things. We pick up the tools we need to move forward, gain spiritual strength by overcoming the negative effects of our past lives, gain good karma, gain higher levels of consciousness, and become the hero in our adventures in the worlds of God. In this lifetime, we have a chance to win the ultimate prize of God realization. This is where we become so harmonized with God that we see no difference between our own will and that of God. We become lost in God, lost in ecstasy of love. We are not conscious of it at all times. This is what is known as total awareness, for by now, we've come to know that love is the only reality. Ek-mastership follows this if we want it. This is the ability, privilege, and total power and freedom to serve all of life as God does. It's also known as being a co-worker with God. As mighty as an Ek-master is, he never hurts anyone, for he has renounced all negative power. He lives to help others along their way home to God. It's like our video game. Once you become expert enough to win it consistently, you gain the respect of others. They're eager for you to teach them how they can win the game too. Naturally, you're glad to help them. It's important to know our past for the reasons I've given, because it helps us immensely on our way home to God. So how can we start learning about our long and eventful past for this help? I'm so glad you asked. It's through the spiritual exercises of Ek. I shared the formula technique in my video on how you can change your past. You can get a Worlds of Ek chart from Ekankar that gives you vital information of each plane, including the holy word you can chant to get there. This chart also appears in the book, A Cosmic Sea of Words, an invaluable reference book by Harold Klemp, the spiritual leader of Ekankar. On this chart, you'll find the holy word you can chant to get to the causal plane, the plane where past lives are stored. It's the word mana, also pronounced mane. I've also shared the Hue, a love song to God, in other videos. I suggest combining the word mana with the Hue song to bring the power of divine love into the exercise. This will ensure its success, because the ingredient of divine love will always bring life to your endeavors. Sing it with a deep breath like this. Keep it up for 15 minutes a day before bed. Remember to keep a dream journal and record what happens. One day you'll discover, much to your surprise, that you are literally the most amazing and majestic creature you've ever met. You can gain a most humble respect, even a profound reverence for yourself. I don't mean this in a vain way, where you go around telling everyone how stupendous you are. When you learn your true greatness, you become silent about it, because you no longer need anyone's adulation. You'll realize all souls have the same greatness as their spiritual birthright, as sparks of God, and you are their equal. I hope this gives you some insight into what's possible for you to discover about your divine nature if you get into it. Thank you for watching.